everyone, welcome back to Katarina's Garage. My name is Katarina Lloyd, and today, well, we're out here at a car show here at Street Wheelers at Galt Gardens today, and well, we're gonna check out all the cars here. There's quite a number of them, so yeah, let's get started because there's a lot. So we got this badass last generation MR2 actually, and you know, it's definitely not stock under here. You know, with the header wrap and everything, with the intercooler, and there's a lot of goodies under there, to be honest. Like, in this thing, these cars, because actually what the MR2 stands for is midship rear-wheel drive two-seater, right? And it's a 93. There you go, and it's got the 3S GTE motor. I just realized my camera's a little... Sorry about that, I didn't realize how the camera quality was. I just cleaned off the lens really quick. But yeah, this thing, I love the bronze color, and even like the little touch with the Toyota logo being bronze like that, that's really, really cool. I love it with the T-tops and everything. Gorgeous, gorgeous car. You know, we got the Samba bus right next to it, 1971, you know, with the Westphalia kit. So it's got the pop-up top on it and everything. It's really cool. You know, it's got the 4-speed, and which, honestly, they didn't make these in an automatic. If you see an automatic, it's been swapped in. Now, hang on a minute. When you see Bussaroo, that makes me think, yeah, that's what I thought. So that is not your stock little engine in there. Yeah, it's a Subaru EJ22? 25. Oh, okay, so EJ25. There you go. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So, and this is a very popular upgrade for these cars too. And because the original engine would have only made around 40 horsepower. 50, yeah, like...
That's a stock one.
Ah, okay, over there.
Same bus.
Ah, that's cool. Yeah, and this would make somewhere in the neighborhood of like 180, 200-ish, you know.
165.
Yeah, there you go. So within that range, right? But yeah, no, it's a very cool bus. So this would move it along pretty good. All right, and here we have a Volkswagen Type 3 Squareback. Now, these are pretty cool. I love these wheels on it. You know, it emulates similar to like the torque thrust, whatever else, but obviously it's for the Volkswagen, so it's actually pushed out a little bit, as you can see. But it's actually got rear disc brakes, which is really nice that way. And, you know, with a nice shifter in it and everything, and all the aftermarket gauges, because admittedly, these didn't have very many gauges from the factory. You know, you just had your mile an hour, your fuel tank, and your RPMs. That was it. And early like Beetles, as an example, didn't even have a proper fuel tank in them. But, or not fuel tank, sorry, a fuel gauge. Basically, you had two different fuel tanks. You had a regular fuel tank, and then when that started to run out, then you would hit your auxiliary tank, which was an extra gallon tank, and you would just go drive to a gas station. That was the early Beetle setups and whatever else, you know, back in the, you know, the 40s and the 50s. But yeah, you know, the twin carb setup, it's pretty cool. I like this a lot. A little 2-liter motor. Yeah, this thing is freaking killer. So, and actually it's the same owner between these two cars. So, pretty neat. And then we got the other Westphalia here. Now this is like a more original style. You can see like the seats are, you know, original. You got the original shifter in here and everything. And the original like Westphalia kit back there. It's really cool to see. Where the other one's a little more modernized, right? So this is just cool to see it in a little bit of like a survivor status. And they did these from, I think it was 59? 58, something like that? Right up until, actually they kept making these in Mexico until about 2003. So it's pretty interesting. This one says 1971. There you go. So yeah, pretty darn cool. You know, and we're starting off with quite a few Volkswagens, case in point. This is an early Beetle, right? 36 horsepower. And it's pretty neat to see one like this. And you can see what I was talking about, right? There's just one singular gauge on the dash. There is no gas gauge on this. And it's kind of unusual to see one of these early bugs around. Because you can see there's just that one gauge, right? It's pretty cool. And you know, these early bugs, people covet these, and they can sell for a decent amount of money too, so very cool. All right, now here we have a really awesome 1958 Chrysler Windsor with a 354 poly in it, which is pretty neat. Now, this is, if I remember correctly, the Windsor was a Canadian-only variant of these Chryslers. But it's still, you know, that Earl Exner era of these cars, big body cars, you know, with the fins and everything. And people talk about how big the fins were on a 59 Cadillac. But what's interesting is that the fins got even bigger with the Chryslers up until about 61. Then they started to dip off where, you know, Cadillac stopped doing the big fins in 59. So it's pretty neat. And I love this era of these Chryslers and, you know, big, comfortable cars, whatever else. And of course, people will see this body and immediately say, well, that's Christine. It's just like, well, kind of. Christine was a Plymouth Fury and it was a 58 as well. But that one, similar body and everything, and granted two-door and whatever else, but they are different. And like, Plymouth was lower on the totem pole than the Chrysler was, right? Absolutely love the gauges and the steering wheel and everything. And the horn, you know, is right on that ring right there. You just kind of squeeze it like that. It's pretty cool. But even like, all these like Earl Exner cars, like you see where the mirror is, it's not actually on the glass. It is right here. And I love how the glass just comes around like that. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous car. Okay, so that was really cool. So I just talked to the owners with this Chrysler Windsor there. And the thing is, this is actually the original family still owning this car. It's a 3-owner vehicle. It still has a 354. They rebuilt the engine, but it has Hemi pistons in it instead because they don't make the poly pistons anymore. So, you know, very similar engines overall, but yeah, no, it's just really, really cool. I love it. Love it a lot. We continue on here. We have this awesome old 41 Chevrolet half-ton with a 216 inline 6 in it, which is just very neat.
Yeah, it's getting dusty on the front.
You know? See the awesome dash and everything. These are very rudimentary truck, like this is when a truck was a truck, right? Not super comfortable or anything, but man, this thing is just really, really cool. And they had this body style from, I think, about 38-ish until 47, because they kind of stopped during the war and they didn't put out a new model till 48, if I remember correctly, on the trucks. But yeah, just overall, very, very cool. So here we go. So this, I remember filming this last year, and this year it's got proper paint on it because it was in primer last year. So this is a really badass one-off custom Fargo pickup truck. Like, you notice how wide this is. It's on a Dakota chassis, if I remember correctly. It's got S10 chassis, sorry. You know? Yeah, hang on. Yeah, okay, so there we go. So this Fargo, like, because actually, if you look last year, I did a video of the entire show here, and we saw this truck in primer, right? But now it is painted. It looks so good. It's actually on an S10 chassis, not a Dakota chassis. It's, you know, nice and low to the ground. It's got a 355 under the hood. This is a tilt front end, but it's very slow going up. Because I actually have a video of it doing that last year. And yeah, no, this truck is absolutely gorgeous. Like, take a look at, you know, even just the little bit of pearl that's in the blue, and even the pearl that's in the white. You can kind of see it there. It is just an absolute beauty of a truck. You know, it's been widened quite a bit on the front. It's about 2 inches wider on each side on the back. And this thing is one hell of a car. Ah, I remember this one. So this is a 72 Mercedes 280 or 300, but if you look at it, you can go, that's not stock. And like you saw the motor there for a second. Don't worry, I'll show it. Again, yeah, it's a 280. So I remember talking with the owner of it last year because, well, if you look under the hood, it doesn't have its original 2.8 in it anymore. There's a 5.3 LS in here. Now, and I saw this setup last year, and I was trying to figure out, is there turbos on this? And he told me no. This actually, he had to do this to route the exhaust out the back because there's just no room to actually run it that way. So, which is pretty darn cool. And this thing is just such an awesome build. Very comfortable cars, very cool. And I'm a big, big fan of this. Like I said, it was here last year, so it's just nice to see. All right, here we have a cool 62 GMC half-ton step side with a 355 small block and a 704 in it. You know, it's absolutely gorgeous with the Eagle alloys, and it's kind of nice to see, you know, one of these as a spare. You know, it's kind of an old school look because a lot of guys would do these in like the 80s and 90s, and it's just kind of nice to see that on a more modern build, right? You see the nice comfortable seats in it and everything. Probably out of like an Avalanche or something like that, or even a Cadillac EXT maybe. Not too sure, but yeah, you see the motor with the headers and everything, the supercell coil wires. That looks freaking killer. You know, all the chrome and everything. Oh yeah. No, I like it. Even like this, the treatment under the hood, it's just very clean and well built. And now, and this body style they made from, I think it was like 62 until like 67. Yeah, 67 was the final year for this body style. It's really, really neat. So yeah, and this truck, like, it's got, check out the, you know, the pearl in the paint and stuff like that. You know, just nice metallic flake. Absolute gorgeous thing. And it's got the shaved door handles and everything, so it's got poppers on it. And yeah, this truck looks amazing. So, and then beside that was something that I was perplexed by last year. I saw this in the show and I thought, oh, that's a cool, you know, like Valiant Barracuda. But then, no, it's not. This is a Sunbeam Alpine GT, right? And I'm used to a Sunbeam Alpine being, or Alpine, depending on where you're from, these being a roadster and looking entirely different from this. But this is a 1970, and it has the very similar styling to the Valiant Barracudas in like 64 through like 66, right? So it's pretty cool to see that in 1970 that way. Which is interesting, because Sunbeam was actually acquired by Chrysler in, I think that was 67 as well. So to see this, it's really, really neat. Honestly, just a big, big fan. And now here we have something a little different. So we had, oh, hello. Okay, so this is a Chrysler Conquest TSI, but that's not the original engine. This should have had, I believe it was a Mitsubishi 2.6 in it from the factory, but now it's an RB26, and this is straight out of a Nissan GTR of like the R32, R33, R34, you know, that way. And it's just badass, and I love the look of these because the Mitsubishi Steryon and the TSI were the same vehicle, right? And it's just absolutely gorgeous. And the thing is, with the hood closed, and other than, you know, it's got some wheels on it, you can't really tell that there's too much done to this. I mean, obviously there's some seats and stuff like that, but yeah, this thing is an absolute beauty. And you don't see these very often at all, so it's nice to see. Yeah, right, kind of bouncing around a little bit here, but that caught my eye as soon as I saw it. I'm like, wait a minute, I have to go talk to that owner. So here we have a 73 Dodge Charger SE. What's kind of nice is just to see it as kind of like a survivor sort of thing. It's got the Magnum 500 wheels on it, which I like, you know, being a big block, and, you know, have the hood mounted tack, which is just wicked. You know, it's a cool old school look that way. It's got more modern buckets in it, you know, automatic and stuff like that, but that's okay. It looks freaking awesome, and it's got the 150 mile an hour speedometer on it. Now these, this body style was made from 1971 until 1974. And these, like, a B-body Mopar is not a small car by any means. But this is the, actually, I don't even think it's the biggest that they ever got, because I think the generation after this is even bigger. But yet, the Charger has one of the most confusing timelines of any car, period. So, which we'll see another, there's a first-gen Charger that my buddy Corey owns. It's actually in the show as well, so we'll go take a look at that a little later. But yeah, because they had a cool little fastback that was more functional and more of like a luxury cruiser. Then they went to, obviously, the Coke bottle styling of the Charger, you know, that everybody knows and loves. Then they went to this body style, which is more of that luxury cruiser, but it's still a bit of a muscle car, right? Then they went to full-on luxury cruiser, not a lot of power anymore, in 1975, and then it went to a front-wheel drive platform in 1982, I believe it was. And then that died by 1988, and then the Charger obviously became the four-door off the LX platform that is based on the Mercedes. So, yeah, overall, really cool, though. I don't know, this is kind of neat. So this is an old Plymouth Fury. You know, and it's not a Fury 2 or 3, it's actually a 1, which is pretty neat to see. Yeah, know, it's a 4-door, and it's a basic car, but man, this thing can be so comfortable going down the road, and he's still got those killer looks, right? I'm a big fan. It's a 1969 with a 318 in it, which is the perfect little drivetrain for this, because, you know, it's not going to make like a ton of power, but it'll cruise just good. It'll have the good V8 noises and everything, and yeah. Now, in this one, so not being a muscle car, right? The speedometer only goes to 120 miles an hour, not 150 like the Charger. So yeah, overall, a very awesome boat. And now what's interesting, like these are a unibody, and all Chryslers other than the truck after 1963 were unibody vehicles. So pretty cool. You know, next to this we have a Meteor Montcalm Rideau. These were a Canadian only, you know, manufacturer for Ford. And this is essentially, you know, a Canadian version of a Mercury. It's very cool. This is a 59. It's got the 352 under the hood. Okay. So it's kind of the start of like their, that's like Y block, I think, which is like the start of their kind of big blocks, similar to it anyways. But yeah, overall, gorgeous car. And now something, and again, I keep saying this, but something you never see very much. Check out this Cougar. So this is the first generation of the Cougar where it was not based on the Mustang anymore. So this is a second gen Cougar, and they did this Cougar from 1971 until 1974, I believe it was. And this is a 72 with a 351 Cleveland under the hood. Okay, this is a GT, and you know, it says only one of 257 GTs made in 72. You know, and it's got one of those aftermarket T-top sunroofs, which is a little interesting. And yeah, we take a look inside, you know, the buckets and everything, and this is more like of a luxury sort of muscle car, similar to like a Lincoln in that regard. And you can see the Marty report, which is pretty cool. See the full breakdown that way. It's pretty neat. I'm a big fan of this with the hood pins on it and everything. It's a killer look, very comfortable car, and yeah, these are admittedly like a bigger car, and I believe they're based off of the Torino platform instead of the Mustang, but I love it. All right, here we have a 69 Impala SS, and now this badge says 427. However, that is a 502 with 460 horsepower. It's pretty darn sweet. And, you know, I am a big fan of these, you know, body on frame, very comfortable vehicles. And this was like, you know, sort of, so you saw like that Fury over there. Like this admittedly is higher trim than what that Fury was, but they were competition to each other, right? So yeah, honestly, I'm a big fan. I love the Chevrolet shifters like that with their automatics. They got kind of like this interesting grip on there, where it just is way cool, right? I love the speedometer and everything over there, and yeah, awesome interior. Absolutely gorgeous car. So I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but here we have a 1968 Dodge Coronet. Now there's only a little 318 in here, but honestly, I don't care. This is one of my favorite cars of all time. Now, I love, like, this one happens to be a Coronet 440, and don't get confused, because 440 is just a trim, not actually the size of the engine. It's just a 318 under there. And how you can tell a small block from a big block when it comes to the Dodge, other than like head size and whatever else, the distributor happens to be in the back of it, while the big blocks had them up front. It's got a little Holley intake on it with a Holley carb on it. That's a nice little setup. But yeah, this is Dodge's kind of one-up on the Charger that way. Even though the Coronet actually existed all the way back in the 50s, where the Charger didn't come out till 66. But, so this is like your more sort of luxury-ish alternative to a Charger, which is just really, really cool. And like my favorite is the 1970, but these 68s are absolutely gorgeous as well. And I would take one of these in an absolute heartbeat. And this one's just a little column shift and whatever else, bench seat car. Very simplistic back in the day, but it'll get the job done. And it'll still probably roast those tires pretty good too with a little 318. So yeah, I love these. And something too is that, some people don't realize this. So there was a thing called the Charger 500, which was their NASCAR sort of version of the Charger before they came with the Daytona in '69. They actually had the Charger 500, which used this grill right here out of the Coronets. And it's because it was far more aerodynamic than the Charger front end. And they just put them out a little bit more so that there wasn't a divot like that. It was pretty cool. But yeah, I love these big old B-bodies. You know, here we have a 1950 Austin A40 pickup. Which now, Austin, they're most known for their for the Austin Mini, right? And then obviously Mini still exists now and it's owned by BMW and stuff like that. This thing's on full air ride and everything like that. It's an absolute beauty. I love, you know, the stitch work on some of the bodywork, whatever else. It's really, really neat. This has a 4.3 liter Chevrolet V6 under the hood. And look at how tiny the steering wheel is. Super itty bitty. I love the cup holders. Like, this thing is just absolutely killer. But yeah, and the A40 was... I'm trying to actually think of how long that they made the A40 for, because it was like from 46-ish right up until about 1960 or so. I'm not really sure exactly, but yeah, some of you might tell me in the comments. But overall, I love this rat rod of a truck. All right, and now here is my unicorn. This, granted, this isn't a Super B. This is a 500, but it's got the Super B scoops on it. This is a 1970 Dodge Coronet with the 440 under the hood and everything. This may as well be a Super B without it actually being a Super B. Now, the Super B on these was actually a... Well, like, it says Super B here, but it says 500 on the front, so I'm a little confused at that. But it's... Yeah, it's definitely a 500. They just put the Super B striping on it. That's what it was. So... This, so like the Super B was their kind of performance variant of it that was a little cheaper, because they did have the RT as well, which was, you know, more options and whatever else. And the Super Bs, what's interesting is that with the Plymouth Roadrunner, you can get that in a convertible, but with the Super B, you could not. So the Coronets, the only convertibles were in the RTs and the 500s. So pretty cool to see. But yeah, absolutely love this B-body Mopar, you know. And we keep going here. We have this awesome international truck, and I love this little you know, this is the stand here. So this is like drive-in speakers, you know, back in the day, which is a really cool little look beside your old 50s international here. Really dig it. So it's an International A110, and it actually is for sale, and it's 1957, which is really cool. And these were a very dependable truck and everything, and they would just go forever, and they're a big workhorse. And this truck box, actually looking at it, this might be a 9-foot box. I think it is, which normally you think, well, no, 8-foot box. No, they did make 9-foot boxes on trucks back in the day. So yeah, it's pretty cool. Absolutely love, you know, the interior and the steering wheel and everything, and it just, yeah, it's gorgeous. But yeah, if you are interested, there is the phone number right there. Here we go. Here is a modified Fox body, and it's got the same spoiler that I've got on mine, albeit this is for a hatchback, so it's a little different than my notchback spoiler, but same difference, right? And now this thing, well, it's got some goodies under the hood. You can see, absolutely lovely. The Edelbrock heads and everything. Edelbrock, that looks like a Junior Victor intake, I think, or maybe even a Victor. Really cool. You got the, okay, it's an electric water pump on this thing too. So, and it just barely fits. Like, look at the clearance between the fan and that. Wow. No, this is badass. Big old rad in it. MSD ignition. All the way around. It's a 408 stroker. There you go. So that thing is wicked. You know, you got your nitrous and stuff like that gauges and your fuel gauge for the nitrous. Yeah, I love this. Now, this is a 84. So this front end they did from 1983 to 1984. 2-year only front end. And it's the least popular front end of the Fox bodies, but they're still really, really cool. And I love these cars now, obviously because I own one, right, as well, but I've owned a few of them. And with the big, you know, slicks out back and everything, these are Hoosier slicks, and they are 28 by 10 15s. Okay, so actually very similar to mine. Mine are 28 tall, 10.8 wide. So these are a little bit, you know, narrower than the tires I run on my Fox body. Yeah, absolutely love, love, love this Mustang. And these are not the original taillights. These are LX later taillights from like an Arrow, but they look good though. It's a good looking car.
And when I done, I put the radiator in.
All right, and here we have another Fox body here. Like obviously you can tell, it's got some goodies. Actually, this is twin charged. That's really cool. So it's got a Pro Charger on it, but then also it's got a Turbonetics turbo. That is really, really neat. You don't see twin charging that often on these Fox bodies. And like, take a look at the clean install here. Wow, fuel cell back here and everything with the plexiglass, and then to check out all his work with the coilovers. Oh yeah, this thing is quite the unit. And this is an Arrow, so you know, between a 79 and 93. Full digital dash and everything, extra gauges, and it is a 5-speed. That's surprising to see with that twin charge setup on it.
Oh, no, I see that.
So this year,
So yeah, it's 427.
what do you mean?
Very cool. But yeah, so talking with the owner a bit. So this is actually, it's a 427 twin charge setup, only running low boost right now, about 10 pounds. It makes about 1,110 horsepower, but it's capable of about 1600. It is a Dart block. And I was mistaken, it's not a 5-speed. That actually has a T56. It's all built up and everything. And this thing's an absolute monster of a car. I love his build. It's very clean and everything. You know, with the 325s out back, which, wow, that is tight, but it fits. So yeah, it's well done. Well done to him. All right, here we have a Grand Wagoneer, which is an 89. So this is after Chrysler acquired Jeep. This happens to have a 5.3 LS in it though. So, you know, a little different than the 360 that would have come in this thing. And the 360 was on a Dodge engine, it was an AMC motor. But these are getting very popular nowadays. And because for a while, nobody really cared about these Grand Wagoneers, but now they're starting to come into vogue because people love the luxury of them. Like, take a look at the seats and everything. Like, super comfortable going down the road, ultimate off-roaders and everything. And they had really good reliability too, because all of these would have had a 360 cubic inch AMC V8. But now this one obviously has a 5.3 LS in it, so it's modified, right? But yeah, overall badass, and absolutely love it. And they did the Grand Wagoneer from about 1970 right up until 1993 was the final year. And yeah, overall very cool. I love the like patina of it, where, you know, like the clear coat's kind of peeling, whatever else too. But yeah, it's nice to see it as kind of that survivor, but then also modified, right? Because you wouldn't know that's an LS unless somebody popped a hood like that. So that's pretty cool. I like it. All right, this Chevy van is pretty neat because, like, this thing going on the road, because you look at this van, it's like, oh, it's just a van, right? But then it's like really loud, and you're just like, what is done with this thing? And like, you see the wheels on it and everything, and yeah, it's got a 6-liter LS in it with a really loud exhaust. And this is a shorty van too. So this is, you know, Chevrolet's kind of just like cargo vans that they had back in the day. This one is a 3/4 ton truck, and you can see, oh yeah, it's definitely an LS in there. You can see it, kind of. But yeah, it's really, really cool. I love this build. I had one of these, but it was a Vandura high top. You know, like full conversion van. But unfortunately, I ended up selling it, even though I really wish it didn't, because that thing ran and drove really good. But I wanted to do an LS swap on it. But you know, sometime later. This truck is really clean. Like, check out this awesome paint on this. This is a 2003 Cat Eye, you know, Silverado with a 6-liter in it and everything. Like, God, just the metal flake in the paint is just looks amazing, right? And it's just a very, very clean build, you know, with the nice wheels on it and everything. They're dub wheels. And yeah, just a very, very clean whole build. Even the bumpers are painted like that too. That's wicked. I love it. All right, here we have a 1969 Pontiac GTO. And this thing is actually very clean and whatever else. And they did this body style from 1968 until 1970 on the GTO. Now admittedly the 70 has a different front end on it, and like they're all 1 year onlys, but like 68, 69 are very similar to each other. And the GTO was the first muscle car, or at least when the term was actually coined, because if you actually go back a little bit, people will say, well, what about, I think it was in 1958, there was an Oldsmobile that had kind of the definition of being a muscle car, but it was never actually coined properly until 64 when the GTO came out. And the hood mounted tack and everything, it's absolutely a beaut with a 400 Pontiac motor inside, which is interesting because people will say, well, you know, like big block, you know, Pontiac, but in reality, Pontiac actually never made a big block, although the Pontiac blocks were all very similar to each other, from the 389 and the 400 to the 455 and everything. It is an absolute beaut of a GTO. So then here we have, in my opinion, the best looking of all the GTOs. This is a 1967. I absolutely love the overall like similar Coke bottle styling that it has. And it's just, these are not a small car. It's a big car, right? Based off of the Pontiac Le Mans, but the GTO, like I mentioned earlier, is the performance variant. I love the old red line tires on it and everything. Those are sweet look. You know, with the automatic in it and everything. Custom cup holders like that look pretty cool. And yeah, overall, it's a very gorgeous, gorgeous car. And you can see the air grabber setup that they have on this. So they got the foam here, and then the hood scoop would actually feed air, kind of a ram air setup. That, and Pontiac's synonymous for that. They did that, hell, even in the last generation Firebird with the WS6 with the giant snorkels on it, you know. But this is kind of the beginnings of that, right here. And now, and what's interesting is that, so this is the earlier blue blocks of the Pontiac, which is cool to see that original sort of color like that. It's very neat. But this one is built out though, because even though it looks relatively stock, but like it's got an intake on it and some valve covers, whatever else, but in reality, this is built out to a 495 Pontiac motor, which so this thing would get up and scoot. And yeah, absolutely gorgeous car. All right, so here we have a 1962 Studebaker Grand Turismo. It's actually for sale if you're interested. Now, these are popular with some people because admittedly the earlier ones people want the most of the 50s, but for like the Studebaker Hawks and stuff like that, because it's a similar body to this, and people use those more for like land speed racing and stuff like that with the vintage classes, and it's very, very cool to see one of these around. I love, you know, the overall body and the grill shape and everything. It's just a very unique look overall. And it's got a 327. What's interesting is that that's probably actually a Studebaker 327, not a 327 Chevrolet that you might think of. Studebaker had their own line of engines for the longest time, and it's a very, very gorgeous car. And, you know, with the bucket seats in it and everything, and a shifter similar to actually a Chevrolet, you know, I absolutely love this thing. It's actually in really good shape too, if you look at it. You know, very good shape. You know, the paint presents well and everything, and an absolute beaut of an old Studebaker. Now this is what I'm talking about. So this is a big boat of a car. So this is a Plymouth Sport Fury convertible. It's about a 68 or so. And like, just look at how long it is. Because like, as a two-door, you don't realize how long these fenders are. Like, just, they go on for miles. Like, this rear fender is about half of my car right there. And it's still got more than that up front. Like, just absolutely awesome. And I love it. And this probably, I would assume it has a big block in it. Yeah, it does have a 440 in it, so there you go. And it's a 68, so there you go. I thought it was 69, so being a 68, it's nice. I love the little touch of the bullhorns up front. But then, yeah, like these Plymouth with their stacked headlights, you know, it was a look that these actually had from about 1966 or 67 onwards with the Fury, so it's very cool. And they didn't change that until 1970. So yeah, I absolutely adore this awesome old, I think this is the C-body Mopar. Now, this is something you do not see ever. So this is a Galant, Mitsubishi Galant VR4. So it's got the little 2-liter turbocharged. These are all-wheel drive, 4-wheel steering, and you got the starts of the 4G series of engine here. I believe that it might actually be the 4G63. I'm just trying to remember. I think it is. And this is like an Evo without being an Evo, right? And yeah, 4G63. There you go. Called it. And it's really cool. So these were only made with the VR4 in Japan. And this one obviously has some goodies done to it, whatever else. And this thing's very much a bit of a sleeper that way, because when you look at this, it doesn't look like much of a car, right? You look at it, it's like, it looks like your basic sedan. But in reality, these were badass in their day. And yeah, like I said, it's an Evo without being an Evo. So very, very cool. I'm a big fan of these, honestly. I love these JDM cars that way. So this is my buddy Corey's 1967 Charger. This has a 383 in it, and actually, if you want to go check him out, he is Rusty Classics Garage on YouTube. And honestly, I love this Charger. Like, this is my favorite generation of them. I love the old Hemi little sort of hood scoop here. And yeah, like, and the 383's warmed up a little bit. He bought this thing last year, and this is the first time I've been able to see it properly. So it's an absolutely gorgeous car, and it's honestly, I love these. This is my favorite generation of the Charger, the 66, 67, that way. Now, the difference between a 66 and a 67 is that 66 has a full-length console going through the back, and also it doesn't have these turn signals here, where the 67s, you know, are like this, and with the turn signals up on the fenders. So that's how you can tell a 66 from a 67. All right, so here we have a 1965 289 powered Ford Mustang. This thing is actually really cool. I love the look of it with the white and the blue stripes and everything. You know, and being the coupe, like, this is how they were. Like, the fastbacks didn't really come out as much till later. And oh, it's a manual. Nice. So it's a 4-speed car. That is pretty damn cool. And like under the hood, you see like an electric fan upgrade, and there's a little air horn down there and a couple of other things, but mostly original under here. You know, a little MSD blaster to coil, stuff like that. And these, obviously, it was like the start of the Mustang. Like, granted, like 64 was the first, but there's not too many differences between a 65 and a 64, but they're still really neat. And yeah, I just absolutely love these cars. And obviously, like, they're really cool. Based off the Ford Falcon, actually. The Ford Falcon started in 1960. Well, the Mustang started in 1964. And it's the start of the pony cars with this awesome Mustang. Plus, one of my favorite features of some of these is the wood rim steering wheel like that. It's my absolute favorite wheel on these old cars. All right, and here we have a 1968 Meteor Rideau. And now the thing is, these were a Canadian-only variant of like Mercury Montcalm, I believe. Now this one's like long, fastback, kind of on the ground, similar to like a Torino in that regard, but just a little different, right? And I absolutely love the look of this thing. You know, with the bench seats in it and everything, column shift. This thing can just be a comfortable car going down the road. And it's got a little throw to under the hood, so, you know, it'll go along pretty good. And the cream color and everything is just absolutely amazing. I love the bright work. I love the grills. You know, even like check out these wheels too. The nice Riddler wheels. It's a nice look. And what's interesting, because last year the guy who's driving this was actually driving a old school TVR. It was a 78, I believe it was. And yeah, this is a lot different than that. So very, very neat. Now here we have this awesome old Model A sort of, or actually it's a T. It is a T bucket. Okay, so it's a 26 Model T. I love how engine is just yes on there. It's a small block Chevy. You know, these wires are interesting for the, check those out. I've never seen that before. That's pretty interesting for the distributor wires, right? That is cool. You know, with the headers on it, everything like that, and it does have the cutouts, you know, should you just want to take that off and have open header. It's a really nice sort of look. I like these quite a bit. And yeah, like there's no rules to hot rods, and that's what I love about it. You'll see anything and everything done to a T-bucket, just like this. And now here we have an Oldsmobile Starfire, which this was kind of an interesting vehicle because it's something that was only existed for a few years in the mid-60s. Like, this is a 1964. Because like the F85 would have actually, no, this would have been like similar to like a Wildcat or something along those lines. Well, actually, no, that's Buick. But, you know, so like an Oldsmobile version of like a Wildcat, I guess. Yeah, very similar to that. And I'm a big fan of this. I love how the headliner looks and everything. Big, long boat of a car. You know, and you see the Starfire logo, which, if you're not paying attention, looks kind of like a Lincoln logo. But, yeah, and just the ultimate styling on the back and everything. I know these had, like, there's very specific, you know, engines for Oldsmobile. They didn't use any, you know, Chevrolet engines in these, but yeah, just overall really, really cool. Don't know a ton on these, but I love it. Of course, we got the obligatory Corvette. C3, it looks to be about a 76-ish or so. It looks 76, called it. So it's a 1976 Corvette T-top car, which is nice. And this is the last year with the flush window this way, or not non-flush window. Because after this, they kind of went to similar to looking to like a hatchback, but in reality, it's actually not a hatchback. That back end doesn't open at all. And so if you want to access the back, you just got an open area like that, right? It's a very gorgeous Corvette. They did the C3 Corvette from 1968 until 1982. And it is a very, very lovely car. It's got a little bit of body kit on it and everything. You know, it's pretty sweet. And these had 305s or 350s on them. So this one happens to have a 305. There you go. Now this is actually a 1982 Ford Capri. These have a 2.8 liter V6 that's fuel injected. And we actually got the Capris over here up until 1978 of this body style. But in Europe, they continue with them until 1987. What's interesting is, this one's an 82, but like all the, if I remember correctly, all the 82s and 87s, they're all just unsold 82s. And they just revin them as later years because they made a surplus of them. And yeah, or it's like 84 or something like that. But honestly, this is my favorite of all the Capris, and I'd love to own one of these. And like there's differences between like the American versus the European Capri. So as an example, the power bulge hood was only available on the 2.8s, but over here, I'm pretty sure that all the Capris had the power bulge hood, if I'm not mistaken. Most of them were the 2.8s over here anyways. You know, you got the Recaro seats in it and everything. It's right-hand drive, of course, 5-speed manual. And these were very successful in racing, actually. Ford campaigned these on the international stage, and they did very well. You know, they had big wide bodies on them and everything, and they were quite aerodynamic overall. A little bit longer of a nose. But yeah, overall, very cool. And I'd love to own one of these, but man, trying to find one that's just not just like rotted in half is quite the challenge. Well, that'll about conclude my video, to be honest. It's just, I'm getting tired. It's very late in the day. And yeah, I hope you guys did enjoy. I didn't get every single vehicle in the show, but to be honest, it'd be like impossible to do because there's a lot of vehicles here. But yeah, also, I found a doggo. His name is Bruce. He's a big dog. So yeah, awesome day. And then also there's this weird little, it looks like it should be electric, but it's not. Because a lot of like weird electric cars were built in the 70s, but like this is a, you know, gasoline powered HMV, you know, freeway. They made like 700 of them, and there's like 67 of them left. Kind of neat, but yeah. Anyways, hope you guys did enjoy the video. Take care, and I'll catch you next one. Peace out.